Let's talk about the change of season and how to prepare for either the upcoming fall and winter or spring and summer. So, we just had the equinox, and if you're in the northern hemisphere, that was the fall equinox. If you're in the southern hemisphere, that was that spring equinox. So, first, we're going to walk through the steps of how to prepare for fall and winter here in the northern hemisphere. But if you're in the southern hemisphere, stay tuned. In just a couple minutes, I'll be walking through how we prep for summer after that spring equinox. So, here in the northern exposure, we just had our fall equinox. The days are getting shorter, we are getting colder weather, and we're getting closer and closer to that winter time. I'm here in the Pacific Northwest, and the sun has now gone down in the horizon. I can no longer utilize the sun to make vitamin D. The days are colder, the days are shorter, and because of that, I'm utilizing other things to stay healthy. So, how am I adjusting to fall and the upcoming winter? Well, what I do is I stay aligned with the rhythm of the sun. I make sure that I'm getting out at sunrise or soon after in those first couple hours of the day where I have all of those metabolic processes, my hormones, my inflammatory state, cortisol, serotonin, dopamine, my sex hormones, my libido. All of those things are being affected by that light I get in the morning. I go outside and I try to do it without a lot of clothes on so that my body can be exposed to colder temperatures, so that my body can start to align with the rhythm of that autumn time, of those colder days. And that's important because as we go into winter here where I am in the northern hemisphere, up in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, that cold is going to signal to my body that it is time to burn fat, right? It signals to those brown adipose cells that it's time to burn fat. It's time to utilize some of that energy that is being stored in my body, right? So you can look at the different range of seasonal vegetables and fruits that are available in a different season. When we're talking about what's happening now in the southern hemisphere as they prepare in spring to go into summer, they're going to utilize the same thing, right? You're going to want to get out, get that morning sunlight, get that sunlight that is lower in a UV index, that still is producing melanin that can protect us from some of the damage of that more intense summer sun. The food that's starting to come online in the spring, those berries that are high in polyphenols and flavonoids, we see that those things also help protect our skin from those more intense rays of summer. So when we're talking about how to prepare for late spring and summer, we're talking about eating seasonally, making sure that we're getting those bright colored fruits and vegetables to prime our skin for that more intense sun later in the summer. Getting a diet rich in seafood also can be very protective. But we want to expose our skin to that light that is lower in UV index, lower in ultraviolet intensity, that is less likely to damage our skin and can provide that buildup of melanin. Whenever we're exposed to sunlight, we want to take into consideration precautions so that it is safe sunlight, right? I'm a very fair-skinned woman, and in the springtime, when I'm preparing for summer, I utilize a lot of morning time sun. I'm utilizing some spring sun, but I'm making sure that I get in the shade if that UV index gets too high or if I've been out in the sun too much. There's wonderful apps out there like D-Dimer and Circadian Life that can tell you just how much time you should be in the sun and how much time you have before it starts damaging your skin. But we shouldn't rely solely on these apps and devices. We should cultivate this relationship so we have a knowing, okay, I've been in the sun enough, I need to get in the shade, right? We bring out our sun hat, we get in the shade of a tree or a parasol. But in the northern hemisphere, as that sun starts to go down on the horizon and we don't have that intensity, we're going to add that infrared energy back into our system. I love warm teas. warm stews and cooked foods to increase that infrared energy, warming spices, right? Cinnamon, cayenne, all kinds of different spices that actually can increase that infrared energy and heat in the body. So I'm doing two things as the sun starts to get less intense in fall and winter. I'm going outside. I'm making sure that my body knows that it's cold, that it knows what season it is. I'm reinforcing that relationship with the seasonal wisdom by eating fruits and vegetables that are local to that season. Again, reinforcing that infradian seasonal rhythm. And I'm exposing my body to the cold so that it can start to initiate that conversation with those brown adipose fat cells and start to burn that fat. Cold exposure also helps my mitochondrial function. And even in those cold, dreary, gray days of fall and winter, there's so much infrared energy out in my environment. I am still able to impact my mitochondrial health, increase their efficiency, their production of ATP, right? So we want to get outside. We want to eat seasonally. And that's something that's similar whether we're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, as we enter into spring and summer, we want to cultivate a safe relationship with the sun, building that melanin. In the northern hemisphere, we want to add that infrared energy back in with warmth, warm beverages, warm foods, warm spices, warming spices in our foods and beverages, as well as exposing our body to the cold, right? There is medicine in each season. We have an inseparable connection with the world around us, and that seasonal flux is something that we should be embracing. There is medicine in that relationship. So wherever you are, I wish you a happy equinox and a beautiful spring or fall. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this content, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.